And first of all, our hydrogen highway, the idea always was that we slowly every year build hydrogen fueling stations on our highways all over the state of California, so that eventually if you have a hydrogen car, a hydrogen fueled car, that you can drive everywhere in California. If it is the Central Valley, it is Southern California, if it's Northern California, no matter where it is, that you will find fueling stations. That is the important thing. And our goal is actually to build fueling stations all the way from Mexico all the way up to Alaska, that whole stretch. So we are right now in the process of doing that. So that's our goal. We are having oil companies participate in funding that. We have government participate in funding that. Private sector, it's a public-private partnership, and all of this. So we set the goal, and now people are following through and making that goal and that vision become a reality. So we're in the middle of doing that. We're not there yet by any means, but we are on our way. And so I think that the same is also with solar. It's a public-private partnerships. I think we set the standards. We said that people will get a certain rebate when they go and install solar. And now we're seeing a huge explosion on the solar market. I mean, our solar companies here producing more and more every year on solar. The increases are enormous. Some companies have increased by 100% their productions of solar panels and so on. So this is huge for our economy, and it is huge because every time they build another solar, rooftop, that takes energy away from the grid, and people just power their own homes and their own swimming pools and their own jacuzzis. And as I've always said, let's not villainize the people when they drive big cars or when they take jacuzzis or when they have big screen TVs, but let's go and make those, the technology of those products more energy efficient. Let's set standards, and that's what we have been doing here in California. And we now see that those flat screen TVs only using 20% of the energy that the older flat screen TVs have used. And we have seen that cars are using only 20% of the energy that they used to use. And we see that, for instance, jacuzzis are being powered by solar and not anymore taking energy away from the grid. So this is where the answer is. The savior of all of this will be technology. So we have to promote technology, we have to finance, and we have to fund technology, and innovation is where the action is.
Governor, you've had to do that yourself, haven't you? You used to be very fond of your Humvees, and then you had to make drastic changes in them. Was that a sacrifice?
Well, I know when I came into this office, I made it very clear that we have to be very conscientious of the technology that we use. And I also, to prove what I'm talking about, I took some of my Hummers. And I've always been a big fan of military vehicles because I was a tank driver in the Austrian army. So I collect military vehicles. And some of them are big polluters, so we changed the technology. We made one Hummer into a hydrogen Hummer, so there's zero emissions now. Another Hummer that was diesel fueled, we changed into biofuel, so that has now changed. So we're changing the technology on all of those things. And even in my house, we built on a hill this huge solar area that powers now the house and the swimming pool and the jacuzzi and all this. So we're making certain changes and also teach the children how important it is to think about all of those things. So I insist when the kids go out of the room, that they turn off the lights. I insist that the kids only take showers that are no longer than 5 minutes. And we're doing all kinds of measures like that. So I want the kids to grow up the way I grew up in Austria, which is energy efficiency was always in our mind.
What would be your message? Governor, you're obviously setting a great personal example, but what would be your message for countries like India, which are not very high polluters in per capita terms? In fact, India in per capita terms is one of the smallest, but obviously emissions will grow up and will continue to rise as India develops. And yet at the same time, there are millions and millions of people who are living in complete poverty, and you can't say that you cannot get energy as you develop. So what would be your message to countries like India?
Well, first of all, I think it's very important that in India they make it a law to clone Dr. Pachauri. I think that's very important.
Now, why does that sound like a script of one of your movies?
I mean, it's like, I did a movie called Sixth Day, where we cloned people, and I myself was cloned in that movie. But I know it's something that, it's people don't do that all over the world. But I mean, there are some people that I wish I could clone, like that Dr. Pachauri is one of them. Imagine that you have 100,000 Dr. Pachauris running around in India, how quickly everything will change. I mean, this is the bottom line. So, but I mean, the thing I think we have to recognize is that, all of these greenhouse gases and our global warming and the situation we're in didn't happen overnight. And it happened over a period of a long time, and we just didn't know any better. So now the key thing is we do know better. The science is in it, we know what's going to happen if we go in that direction. So I think that we systematically must move forward. Anyone that is trying to rush that and think that tomorrow will be the changes, I think is wrong. I think that we have to engage the people, make it attractive for people to get involved. Support companies that produce green technology products. Support companies that produce TV sets that are more energy efficient, that produce light bulbs that are more energy efficient, that build electric cars and hydrogen cars and biofuel cars and so on and so forth. Let's support these companies. We have seen in California, for instance, that we have now companies that are producing the electric cars move into California and producing this gas because we are supportive, and we have passed laws that will support their companies, and there is consistency there, which is very important. So I think that India eventually will go in that direction by having people like you out there, and your government has already shown great interest, and on a state or province level you've shown great interest. The key thing is that we all work together and keep pushing it, and eventually we're going to get there. That's the important thing. I'm not a big believer in threats. I don't believe a big believer in scaring people and making people feel guilty about all of this. I think that more importantly is to make it attractive and to make people come in and become part of this movement, and from the top up put the pressure on the federal government. From the bottom up put the pressure on it.
Great. And while we're taking Dr. Pachauri away to clone him, you must have heard that some of the recent controversies have also led to some people saying that climate change itself is not taking place. And I want to throw that question to Dr. Pachauri as well in a minute. But how would you react to that? There's this notion that somehow climate change has been cancelled, it's not happening.
If you can ask me again the question.
I'm saying that there are still a large number of people who will continue to
I see. Okay, got it. I hear you. Yeah. Well, there's some people that still live in a stone age. And the bottom line is, there were people, let's not forget.
Okay. I'm tempted to
Let's not forget that there were people for a long time, Dr. Pachauri, there were people for a long time that insisted that the world is flat. And they refused to accept that the world was round, that it was a globe. But for years, they said, no, it's flat. So I understand that there is mentalities like that. And, you have to be tolerant. The thing is, you can't go and attack these people. I always say, okay, that's your opinion. And this is my opinion. And I hope that I can convince you that someday you will understand that we are right. I think that's the important thing. Is it's always hard, rather than attacking each other, it's always hard to just it's easy to bring them in.
So is that what you've been saying to Sarah Palin in your recent fights with her? You're in the Stone Ages, but we'll eventually be right.
I mean, I think that it is very clear. It's very clear that we, Dr. Pachauri and all of you that are there at this conference and we are going in the right direction, and I think it will become very evident to them as time goes on. Even those that think that the world is flat still eventually will find out that it is round.
Dr. Pachauri,
thank you, Governor. That's really spoken like a statesman, and we respect you for your views. Yes, this is a diverse world. We have to allow space for all kinds of opinions. But you're absolutely right. Those who believe in the truth must persevere in disseminating the truth, and I'm sure this way the world will begin to believe in what is right. So we really admire your leadership, and I salute you for what you're doing, Governor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and remember the line, I'll be back.
You'll be back.
When are you going to be back in Delhi?
In Delhi, in Delhi next February, Governor. We're really looking forward.
Thank you.
You have so many fans
You got
over
it.
here who'd love to have you in our midst.
We certainly look forward to you terminating all those who will stand in the way of sorting out climate change. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.